Have you ever felt like your body is betraying you? You go to bed tired, but instead of resting, you spend the night shuffling back and forth to the bathroom. The flow is weak, the urgency is constant, and the frustration grows until you start to wonder if this is just how life has to be after 60. Let me tell you, it is not. The shocking truth is that millions of men are suffering needlessly because the real solution has been hiding in plain sight right in your kitchen. My name is Dr. Mohit Khera. I've spent over 30 years as a urologist, helping men all across America deal with one of the most private, painful struggles of aging, the enlarged prostate. I've listened to their fears, I've seen the toll it takes on their sleep, their confidence, even their marriages, and I'm here to share with you what I've learned. Because here's the paradox. While the medical world pushes prescriptions and procedures, very few will ever tell you that the most powerful healing doesn't come from a pill bottle, but from 5 everyday vegetables. Vegetables that science has proven can actually help shrink your prostate and calm the symptoms that keep you up at night. So today, I'll show you exactly which 5 vegetables can change your health and your future. And stay with me, because at the end, I'll reveal a little-known preparation secret that makes these foods even more effective, a truth almost no one tells men your age. Before we begin, if you haven't subscribed yet, I encourage you to do so and turn on the notification bell. That way, you'll never miss another health tip designed to help men over 60 live stronger, longer, and with more confidence. And if this message speaks to you, type 1 in the comments. If it doesn't, type 0 so I know how to serve you better. Now, let's begin with the foundation. Before we talk about the vegetables, you need to understand what's really happening inside your body when the prostate grows larger, why it causes so many nightly struggles, and why food is the missing key. 1. Understanding the enlarged prostate. The prostate is a small gland, often compared to the size of a walnut, that quietly sits below the bladder. For most of a man's life, he never even notices it's there, but as the years pass, something almost universal begins to happen. The gland starts to grow. This growth is called benign prostatic hyperplasia, or BPH. While the word benign means it isn't cancer, don't let that word fool you. The discomfort, the anxiety, and the exhaustion it causes can be just as life-altering as any disease. I remember one of my patients, a 67-year-old grandfather, sitting across from me with tears in his eyes. He wasn't crying because of pain. He was crying because every night he was up 6, sometimes 7 times, walking back and forth from his bed to the bathroom. He told me, "Doctor, I feel like a prisoner in my own house." His story isn't rare. It's the reality for millions of men across the country. And what's worse, many of them never hear that there are natural, gentle ways to bring relief. When the prostate enlarges, it presses against the urethra, the tiny tube that carries urine out of the body. Imagine squeezing a garden hose. The pressure makes the flow weak, hesitant, and frustrating. Over time, this constant strain can lead to sleepless nights, interrupted days, and even strain on a man's closest relationships. Partners often suffer too, watching the man they love become weary and withdrawn. But here is where hope begins, because just as certain foods can worsen this swelling, other foods, especially vegetables, can soothe it. Nature has placed remarkable healing compounds into simple plants, compounds that science has now proven can help ease the pressure and shrink the prostate naturally. And in just a moment, I'll reveal the first of these vegetables, one that not only protects your prostate, but also strengthens your overall vitality. You may already have it sitting in your kitchen right now. 2. Vegetable number 1. Tomatoes. When I first began practicing medicine, I never imagined that something as ordinary as a tomato could hold such power over a man's health. Yet the more I studied, and the more patients I guided, the clearer it became that this bright red fruit, often sitting unnoticed in salads and sauces, carries within it a compound that can be life-changing for the prostate. That compound is called lycopene, and it has a special affinity for the very gland that troubles so many men in later life. Research shows that lycopene doesn't just reduce inflammation, it concentrates in the prostate itself, protecting the tissue and helping to reduce enlargement. I think back to one of my patients who loved gardening. He told me the most peaceful hours of his week were spent tending to his tomato plants in the backyard. For years, he'd enjoyed them fresh, raw, straight from the vine. When I explained that cooking tomatoes actually unlocks even more lycopene, making it easier for the body to absorb, his eyes lit up. He began making simple tomato soups, hearty pasta sauces, and even roasting cherry tomatoes with olive oil. Within months, he noticed not only a smoother flow, but also deeper sleep because he wasn't waking as often through the night. His wife later thanked me, saying those small changes gave them both their evenings back. Tomatoes are humble, but they carry a quiet strength. They remind us that healing doesn't always come from a pharmacy, but sometimes from the warmth of a home-cooked meal. For men battling the restless nights and constant interruptions of an enlarged prostate, tomatoes offer not just nourishment, but hope. Hope that every bite can bring them closer to freedom. And while tomatoes work wonders, they are only the beginning. Because next, we move to a vegetable that doesn't just help the prostate, but actively fights the silent inflammation driving it to grow larger. This one is often green, often overlooked, yet it holds one of nature's most powerful compounds for men's health. 3. Vegetable number 2. Broccoli. For years, I've watched men grimace when I mentioned broccoli. Many see it as nothing more than a bland side dish, something pushed onto their plates when they were children and avoided ever since. But hidden inside those green florets is one of nature's strongest protectors against prostate swelling. Broccoli is rich in a compound called sulforaphane, and this tiny molecule has the power to quiet inflammation and help the body flush out harmful toxins that quietly drive the prostate to grow. It's not a magic pill, but it works in harmony with your body, gently calming what has become irritated and swollen over time. I'll never forget a patient of mine in his 70s who confessed he hadn't touched broccoli in decades. He was tired of waking up 5 times a night, desperate for relief, but wary of adding yet another prescription to his growing list. I encouraged him to give broccoli a chance, prepared simply with olive oil and lemon. Within weeks, he noticed something he hadn't experienced in years: uninterrupted nights. His flow improved, the urgency calmed, and his energy slowly began to return. He came back to my office not just with gratitude, but with a renewed sense of control over his own body. Sometimes the simplest foods remind us that health doesn't always require complexity. It requires consistency and trust in what nature already provides. Broccoli is not glamorous, but it is powerful. Every bite is like sending a signal to your prostate: calm down, heal, return to balance. And while broccoli is remarkable, it is not the only food with this ability. In fact, there is a traditional snack, crunchy and satisfying, that men in Europe have used for centuries to ease their prostate problems. It may surprise you because it's not a vegetable in the way you expect, yet it belongs in the same family of healing foods. Let's explore it next. 4. Vegetable number 3. Pumpkin seeds. When most men think of pumpkin seeds, they picture a fall harvest or a snack tossed out after carving a jack-o'-lantern. Rarely do they realize that these tiny seeds have been treasured in traditional medicine for centuries, especially in parts of Europe, for supporting men's prostate health. Inside each seed is a powerful plant compound called beta-sitosterol. This nutrient works almost like nature's own medicine, helping to relax the urinary tract, improve the strength of urine flow, and even reduce the size of an enlarged prostate over time. Unlike the pills that can leave you with dizziness, weakness, or other side effects, pumpkin seeds offer their benefits gently, through food that feels familiar and comforting. I remember speaking with a patient in his mid-60s who was frustrated with his options. He told me, "Doctor, I just don't want to live on pills." His wife had read about pumpkin seeds and encouraged him to try them, but he brushed it off until he heard it from me. He began eating a small handful every evening while watching television. Nothing drastic, just a simple habit. Months later, he walked into my office smiling. The nighttime urgency had eased, his flow felt stronger. And for the first time in years, he said he could sit through an entire ball game without worrying about rushing to the bathroom. He looked me in the eye and said, "I feel like myself again." These stories remind me that sometimes the answer isn't hidden in complexity. It can be as simple as a seed, something that fits easily into your daily life, something that quietly supports your body's healing. But as effective as pumpkin seeds are, they're not the whole story, because there is another vegetable, bright and colorful, that carries antioxidants so strong they not only protect your eyes, but also bring remarkable relief to the prostate. And once you hear how it works, you'll never look at this familiar food the same way again. 5. Vegetable number 4. Carrots. Carrots are one of those foods most of us grew up with, often told they were good for our eyesight. And while that's true, what many men don't realize is that carrots also carry a powerful gift for the prostate. They are packed with carotenoids and antioxidants that act like shields inside your body, protecting delicate tissue from something we call oxidative stress. Oxidative stress is almost like rust forming on metal. Over the years, as your cells are exposed to damage, the tissue becomes weaker, more inflamed, and more likely to swell. For the prostate, this rusting can mean the difference between sleeping peacefully and waking up 5 times in the night, exhausted and discouraged. I once treated a man in his early 70s who admitted he rarely ate vegetables. His diet was heavy on bread, meat, and processed foods. When we spoke about natural approaches, I suggested something as simple as adding carrots, raw with lunch, roasted at dinner, or even juiced with a bit of apple. He laughed at first, wondering how such a small change could matter. But after a few months, he told me something that surprised even him. Not only had his urinary symptoms begun to ease, but he also felt more energy during the day, sharper focus, and a sense of vitality he thought he had lost forever. His wife joked that carrots gave her husband back more than his eyesight. They gave him back his spirit. Carrots remind us that healing doesn't have to be complicated. Sometimes it begins with a crunch, a burst of color, and the steady protection of antioxidants flowing through your system. But there's another pair of foods, humble and often overlooked, that have been used for centuries in kitchens around the world. Their pungent aroma may fill the house, but their compounds quietly fight inflammation at its root. And when it comes to supporting your prostate, these two may be the most surprising of all. 6. Vegetable number 5. Onions and garlic. There is something deeply comforting about the smell of onions and garlic sizzling in a pan. For generations, they've been staples in family kitchens, used to flavor soups, stews, and roasts. Yet beyond their taste, these humble foods hold powerful healing properties that most men never realize. Both onions and garlic are rich in organosulfur compounds, natural substances that fight inflammation and improve circulation. And when it comes to the prostate, these compounds act almost like firefighters, calming the irritation that keeps the gland swollen and restless. One of my patients, a retired teacher in his late 60s, told me he had always avoided garlic because he didn't like the strong smell. But after years of struggling with frequent bathroom trips, he was willing to try anything natural that could help. His wife began adding roasted garlic to their meals, slow-cooked onions into soups, and even a little raw garlic in salads. Over time, he noticed something incredible. The urgency that once woke him 4 or 5 times a night began to ease. His flow grew stronger, and his nights became quieter. He came to me with a smile and said, "Doctor, I didn't know something so simple could change so much." What I love about onions and garlic is that they don't just support the prostate, they strengthen the whole body. They boost immunity, protect the heart, and give meals a depth of flavor that turns food into an experience. Every time you cook with them, you're not only feeding your body, you're nurturing your health in ways medicine often overlooks. And yet, as remarkable as these foods are, there's still a hidden truth the medical world rarely shares. Because beyond what you eat lies another secret, a simple preparation step that can make these vegetables, and all the others I've mentioned, 2 or even 3 times more effective. And once you learn it, you'll never look at your meals the same way again. 7. The truth no one tells you, plus 1 preparation secret. After decades in medicine, I've learned that some of the most important truths rarely make it into the doctor's office. When men come to me with prostate problems, they're almost always expecting another prescription, another test, or sometimes even a discussion about surgery. What they don't expect to hear is that food itself can be a form of medicine. And yet, study after study has shown us that certain vegetables can directly influence prostate health. So why isn't this truth shouted from the rooftops? The honest answer is because natural foods don't make anyone money. Pills and procedures generate profits. Tomatoes, broccoli, pumpkin seeds, carrots, onions, and garlic simply don't. That's why so many men live in the dark, struggling night after night, never realizing that relief could be found in the meals they prepare at home. But there's another piece of this puzzle that most men overlook, and it's the way these foods are prepared. Many of the powerful compounds inside these vegetables are fat-soluble, which means your body can't absorb them fully unless they're eaten with healthy fats. Imagine cooking tomatoes in olive oil, or steaming broccoli and finishing it with a drizzle of avocado oil, or enjoying carrots alongside a handful of walnuts. Suddenly, the nutrients don't just pass through your system. They sink in, nourish, and begin repairing the very tissues that have been giving you trouble for years. It's a small adjustment, but the impact can be profound. When I share this with patients, they often shake their heads and say, "Doctor, why has no one ever told me this before?" And I tell them, because sometimes the simplest solutions are the ones most easily ignored. But now you know better. You've discovered the vegetables, and you've learned the secret that unlocks their true power. And in just a moment, as we move into the conclusion, I'll show you how putting this knowledge into action can transform not just your nights and your prostate, but your confidence, your energy, and even the way you live each day. Conclusion. We've traveled together through the hidden truths about the prostate, and I hope you now see that relief doesn't have to come only from a bottle or a procedure. The simple foods you've heard about today, tomatoes, broccoli, pumpkin seeds, carrots, onions, and garlic, all carry within them compounds that science has shown can shrink the prostate, calm inflammation, and restore balance to a part of your body that has been causing so much distress. I've watched countless men find freedom through these changes, and I've seen the weight of worry lift from their faces as their nights grew quieter and their days felt lighter. What I want you to take away is this: you are not powerless, no matter your age. Each meal is an opportunity to turn the tide in your favor. These vegetables are more than side dishes. They are medicine crafted by nature, ready to help you reclaim your comfort, your dignity, and your strength. And now the choice rests with you. You can continue down the path of frustration, or you can begin, today, with the simple act of adding one of these foods to your plate. Because sometimes, healing starts with the smallest step, and that step can change everything. If you found this message helpful, please take a moment to like this video and share it with a friend, a brother, or a father who might be struggling in silence. Your support helps spread knowledge that can truly change lives. I'd also love to hear from you in the comments. Let me know your thoughts, your experiences, or simply type one if you're ready to start making these changes today. And if you'd like to support this channel further, consider making a small donation. Every gesture helps me continue creating content for you.